tell you this, but just a lovely incident involving a student. The guy who put together American Public Piano with me is Scott McBride Smith. He's an American teacher, and he's a real proper classical teacher, not like me. And he, when I last saw him, in fact, he had a 15-year-old boy who just won the American national competition doing the Prokofiev Second Concerto, and he'd had this boy from when he was 3. In other words, he seems to have an incredible ability to get people up to an amazing standard across 12 years, if you like. But he wrote this method, American Public Piano, with me, and he's the pedagogical undertow. But American Public Piano includes a piece called Train Stop in level 4, and he's got a student called Justin, he says a good-looking boy of 15 with a very talented older brother who does concerto playing, but Justin's never actually got to the end of a piece. Ever come across that, teachers? And in desperation somewhat, he gave him this piece called Train Stop to play, and the next week Justin came to his lesson, this 15-year-old boy, and said to Scott, "I've been working on Train Stop, I find the ending weak." Isn't that a 15-year-old boy? And of course Scott said to him, "You got to the end?" And he'd not just got to the end, he'd actually made his own ending up. So he played the piece and then made his own ending up and played this elaborate bluesy ending, which he thought was much better than mine. So I'm not saying you're going to do that, but I'm just saying he's got that air about him where you might say, "I've just made a few alterations which I think slightly improve the piece, Mr. Norton, if you don't mind." So this is a piece called Bedbug Blues. But what he did is made it sound like an improvisation, didn't he? He made it sound like he was making it up as he went along. You had a lovely spontaneous way of playing. Now the only thing I'd say, just like I'm talking to other students about, when you play the tune, can you make sure, who's your teacher?
Josie.
Oh yes. Now I'm just saying if you can play genuinely legato, which I think he's doing pretty well, but in your hand without the pedal. In other words, just play with the right hand tune. Now that's lovely. So you know how to shape then, and then ya-dee-doo-doo-doo. And what I'm thinking is that some of the time you're ending up with just not quite enough weight behind the sound. So the right hand is actually not singing out quite as much as it could, because it wants to be a bit. I always think this is like a trombone player, and of course they would have a whole breath support behind the sound, wouldn't they? And I'm saying I would like the sound to have more breath behind it. Okay, you could do that, like copy a trombone player. So the right hand is just a little more weight to it. It's good. More. Chords. It's really nice. Okay. Now, can I just play the second page for you? I'm just going to see what I'm doing different. I don't quite like this, and this is an interpretation thing. you're going a bit heavily, I think. I like it. It's a bit like a banjo player then. It should be like a banjo part. I've got a bed back. I'm going to have it. I'm just going to quickly check. Bed back. No. Next time I come here, I'll bring all the what are they called? Connections backing tracks. And in fact, the students, I'll make sure. Could any students let Rebecca know if they'd like a backing track for a piece they played from Connections in particular, and I'll email it to you.
Okay.
So you get instantly.
Because I think Peter tried to use the code, it didn't work. Something went wrong.
We figured out your 5 looked a little bit like an S. Sorry.
There you go.
Good. Anyway,
Okay.
really nice playing. Well done. So well prepared that piece. So here's our photo.